I was born in the West African country of Nigeria. I moved to England when I was almost 8 and eventually ended up in Ohio when my dad, who's also a doctor, finished his training and started a clinic in Canton. I attended Jackson High School and I graduated in 2006. From there, I went on to do a combined college and medical school program. I completed my medical school training at Northeast Ohio Medical University. From there, I went on to do my psychiatry residency at Cleveland Clinic, and then I pursued an additional year of specialized training at Harvard's Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston. I eventually moved to New York because I just kind of a city girl. So now I work in Lenox Hill Hospital in Lower Manhattan in telepsychiatry. We basically do telemedicine psychiatric evaluations on patients that come into any one of the many emergency rooms in the Northwell Health System.
Since graduating from Jackson High School in 2000, I earned my bachelor's degree and master's degree from the University of Akron. And for the past 10 years, I have been working in the training and development space. Currently, I run the Learning and Development Department for a nationwide IT consulting firm. And typically what I'm working on is building out company-wide learning programs all the way down to individual learning plans so that we can upskill and reskill our workforce so that we remain relevant and competitive in the marketplace.
There have been quite a number of obstacles in my life. In my early years, I lived with my grandparents in Nigeria, which was kind of hard because, my parents were in England, kind of paving the way for us to join them. So I lived a good number of years without my mom and dad. But I always had my older sister, and focusing on the good things in my life was something I learned to do then. And it's actually helped me overcome various other obstacles over the years. There have been many times, beginning in med school and since then, that I've fallen ill or just been extremely burned out. And it's very challenging having the weight of a profession where you hold people's lives in your hand and still have your own personal things to deal with. So the way I learn to manage is giving my best when I'm able to, focusing on the job in front of me, staying upbeat and positive, but also knowing when to take a step back and relax. I took some time off in medical school when I needed it, and being able to do that taught me that it was okay to take a break, and actually sometimes it's essential to do so.
One of the obstacles I feel is when I worked for Timken, I felt because I didn't have the higher education, college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, I got passed up for some promotions. Even though I had the knowledge to function in those capacities, I wasn't given a chance to do that. Even though I trained some of my replacements, who eventually became my boss, I kind of felt slighted a little bit, and I thought it was because of my color. Did it play a role? I'm not sure. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking yes. Sure, I got interviewed for some jobs, and I just thought they were token interviews. But again, I felt a little bit slighted. But I didn't let that bother me, hinder me. I kept pursuing, and eventually, again, I went from a laborer, digging, shoveling dirt, scale, up to managing 40, 50, 60 people in the department. So again, I'm pleased with my overall career at the Timken Company.
Some of the obstacles I had to overcome during my life, two of the biggest was I'm adopted. I'm the only black kid in my family. Growing up in Jackson is predominantly white. Church was predominantly white. Being in the soccer team, there's 50 plus players. I'm one of two. Being in the marching band, there's 330 plus. I think we were almost pushing 400 at that point. When I was going through, I was one of very few. Also, academics-wise, I struggled in school. I had an IEP. I got a 16 and 17 on my ACT, which is hard to believe that I have a master's degree at this point. Most of the time, people would have believed that I wouldn't have been able to do what I was able to do. But because of the resiliency that I learned in the sporting realm and off the field and with my family, I was able to achieve those things.
If I'm being completely honest, one of the biggest obstacles that I was faced with growing up was dealing with identity. There weren't a lot of people who looked like me that I could look to as a role model. And so really understanding where I fit in the world was a challenge for me. And it's something that I've had to deal with my entire life. And I think the best way you overcome it is understanding that we all have differences. In fact, a quote I just recently learned was, "I'm not different from you, I'm different like you." And what I really appreciate from that quote is that it allows us to celebrate our differences and really embrace those. So for example, how many women do you know willingly shave their head? But it's part of who I am, and it's freeing, and it's the type of person that I want to be. I want to be bold and different. And so I think living with that moment and really understanding who you are is how you overcome a lot of that struggle.
Throughout my life, I have struggled with being different. Although I've accomplished a lot since my years at Jackson Local Schools, I have yet to be able to escape the obstacles that come with being Black in America. In our country, there is a massive lack of understanding of those who are different, which causes us to cast judgment, misread social cues, and overanalyze those who are unique to our cultural norms. It is only because of my education, personal development, and positive thinking that I have found success in today's world. Knowing where I've come from, understanding my present, and chasing after what I can be is what has made me a leader in our community.
So all the cliches you've ever heard are true. Life is too short. Live it to the fullest. Practice does actually make perfect. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. The good memories you build right now will make you happy in the future when you look back on them. And the crappy things that you're experiencing as a teenager, or even the crappy things about being in high school, those things fade away so quickly, it will actually shock you. So when you're in college, everything bad about high school, it literally disappears. Completely different world, different environment. And everything good about high school is a stepping stone to more good things to come. It's important to know that we all have a place in this world and a role best suited for us. And it's obviously okay if you don't have all the answers right now, because you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to have everything figured out right now. And if you think you have all the answers, great. But just know life is going to give you more questions that you need to figure out answers to. So stay prepared.
There was a saying that said, not everyone can be famous. But I feel everyone can become great. You can become great by being a good teacher, student, coach, friend, neighbor. I think those are what's real important. And I tried to live my life living by that quote. I'm not worried about being famous. I just want to somehow be great and be an influence to someone out there. My neighbor, young kids that I coach, students on my bus, teachers, staff that I come in contact with, and my family.
My words of encouragement for Jackson students is, it's okay if you don't have it figured out yet. Who you are today isn't who you were 2 weeks ago, and it's certainly not who you're going to be in 2 years from now. And so if you feel like you just haven't quite have things figured out for you or on your path, that's completely fine. And to be honest, I feel that way sometimes myself, and I'm almost 40. So it's perfectly normal. But I do have some advice. If you decide to go on and get your degree, I highly recommend getting an internship in the career field that you're going into. It is eye-opening to get that experience before you complete your degree. I may or may not have changed my degree twice, and my master's is in a completely different field than my undergrad is. But I can completely say that participating in the 5 internships I did across undergrad and graduate school helped me really narrow who I wanted to be when I grow up. So I'm kind of happy with how that turned out. So again, it's okay if you don't figure it out yet, or if you don't have it figured out yet, and please take advantage of internships.
For those of you who are coming up through the ranks of Jackson Township, I encourage you to uplift one another. Be kind to everyone you meet and recognize that each and every one of us has history. Understand that we all are fighting some kind of battles, but in order for our nation to grow and become great, we must learn to live together as brothers. Otherwise, we will perish as fools.
My biggest words of encouragement to pass on to all of you is just to love yourself. I think it's very tough, no matter what school you go to, no matter how much money floats around in the community. Everybody is being judged by somebody. And the challenge is to be very comfortable in your skin. Trust me when I tell you, being comfortable in your skin is not very easy. Obviously, as a counselor, I hear about it every day. And as a black guy growing up in a white family in a predominantly white school, you bet it, I heard you're the white black kid. I'm sure as some of you guys hear the way I speak, you guys might think I'm fake or I talk white or whatever the case is. And it's definitely a challenge to be comfortable in yourself, no matter if you're black, no matter if you're white, no matter if you're Chinese, Mexican, Asian, Indian, whatever. The challenge is to be comfortable and confident in yourself. Surround yourself with the right people that have your best interest at heart. And sometimes that means getting rid of some people that you think care about you, that only are getting next to you for certain reasons. It's a challenge. Life is challenging. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to stand up, take accountability, and take it head on.